Welcome to the session. We'll be starting about Python. So Python is actually a programming language. We know that very well. Python is a programming language. Basically, it is an object-oriented programming language. Okay, we will see to it what is object-oriented down the lane. Let's not worry about what is object-oriented programming, but be specific that Python is an object-oriented programming language. While when we see with C programming, we already knew it is a structure-oriented programming. But C++, Java, Python, these are object-oriented programming language. Okay, so before starting any programming language, we need to understand that whether the programming language is a compiler oriented programming language or an interpreter oriented programming language. Python is both a compiler and interpreter oriented programming language. We call it as Python is compiler and interpreter programming language. Okay, there is a big argument in the industry to say whether Python is compiler or interpreter, but I want you people to understand Python is both compiler and interpreter based programming language. What is this compiler and what is this interpreter? What is compiler? Whenever I say the high level program, whenever I say the high level programming language, let us say in general English, okay, what we understand is English, but we want to make our compiler understand this English. Is it possible to compiler understand English? No, because compiler understands only zeros and ones. So what I do is, whatever the high level programming language English present here will be converted to the low level machine understandable language. Low level machine understandable language. Okay, who will make this happen? There comes the intervention of the compiler and interpreter. Okay, there we need to understand, here comes the compiler and interpreter. Okay, so what is the difference between the compiler and interpreter? See, the major difference between the compiler and interpreter is, compiler, what it will do, what it is it takes the entire line of code, that is entire source code, it converts to the low level programming all at once. That is what about the compiler. Then what is interpreter? Interpreter will take every line of code, each and every line of code, it will convert to the low level programming language. This is about the interpreter. Okay, that is line by line is called as an interpreter, all at once is called as compiler. As of now, let us understand only the difference like this. Let's not go into deep of how exactly the compiler is being differentiated with interpreter. Okay, so this is about the compiler, interpreter. What is Python? It is an object-oriented programming. Why it is object-oriented programming? We'll be seeing this later. Okay, so compiler, interpreter will come into picture to convert high-level program to low-level program. The next session will be starting with the Python basics and we'll understand the practicals on the same. Python is basically an object-oriented programming language. We got to know about that. Okay, now actually I want to say Python is actually a simple language than compared to other programming languages because it is not much oriented to syntax. Okay, but provided Python is actually an indentation oriented programming, we need to be very sure that we have to be very careful while working on indentation. Okay, previously the programming language was forcing the developers to give a proper indentation so that the documentation would be proper, but the Python strictly says if your indentation is not proper, then I won't execute, I'll be giving you an error. Okay, so Python is basically indentation oriented programming. Okay, as we know very well, first we need to start one of the important program, which is hello world program. Correct? That is printing hello world onto the monitor. It is very simple. What we do is, in Python there is no public static void main, there is no function, nothing. Is like just to print followed by in the double quotes hello world, as simple as that. This is what we need to understand. Okay, so what is this print? Print is a function. What is function? We will see later. But if you want to print something onto the monitor, it's very simple. Print followed by hello world. Good. Now what we understand is, we'll be understanding something with respect to data, data types, variables and data structures in Python. What is data? What is data? Any useful information is considered as data. Correct? Any useful information is considered as data. Okay, so what do you mean by any useful information? At the age of the person, it's a data. The phone number of the person, that's the data. When there's something like name of the person, is the data. So what is data? Any useful information, we call it as data. As simple as that. Okay, now we understand. Whenever I say age, you will be getting in your mind, oh, age is a number. Correct? When I say phone number, you'll be getting a phone number. It is a number, correct? When I say name, oh, name is something with respect to a character. Yes, mean to say it is a word, you understand. But how to make my compiler understand, that is, how to make my Python programming understand what is what? We need to understand something called as data types. We need to worry about the data types. Basically, any programming language, we have to be very much worried about the data types. That is, we have something like int, we have something like string, we have something like boolean and other things. But what happens in Python is, we are not worried much about the data types. We are worried about the data structure. We are worried about the data structure. If you get a question, why we are not worried about the data types? Why we are not worried about the data types? Because Python automatically takes a concern to assign the data types for your variables. Now comes the question, what is variable? Anything which varies is a variable. What it means? It means whenever I say age is equal to 23, that is, you must understand, always you must come from right to left. That is, I am having a data by name 23, I am assigning this 23 to age. So this age is called as variable. Okay, but in other programming languages apart from Python, it is very clear that we need to understand this, telling it as int age equal to 23. That is, we need to specify that 23 I am storing it in age and the data type of age is integer. But in Python, you don't worry about this. Python says, see, you just give age equal to 23. Depending upon the data, I myself is assign the data type, is what the Python says. So you must be very clear that Python is not worried about the data types. It is worried about the data structure. Now we will see what is the data structure. Before that, I just want to make a recap. What is data? What is data type and what is variable? What is data? Any useful information is called as data. What is data type? Type of the data is called as data type. That is, when I say age, it is 23, which is integer. When I say something like name, that is string. Okay, I say string name, then I say something is equal to RAM. So this is about the data and the data type, where RAM is the data, name is the variable, string is the data type. This is data type, this is variable, and this is data. This is how we define in all the other programming languages. But in Python, we just leave this part because the compiler will take care of it. We just see variable and the data. Okay, if that's the case, then what we are worried about? We are worried about something called as data structures in Python. So the topic would be what is data structure and how do we use in Python. We have understood something about the data, data types, variables, and assigning the variables in Python. Now let us understand something with respect to data structures. Data structures. As the name says, what do we understand when we hear data structures? As the name says, the structure of the data, right? For example, whenever I say one below the other, the structure is very different. One after the other, the something is very different. Something with respect to name and the index, that is again a different data. When I say something with respect to age, with the number, with the floating number, with the character, that is again a different data. So depending upon how we arrange the data and how we combine the data, we have the concept called as data structures. In Python specifically, there is something called as mutable and immutable data structures, where data structures in Python is classified as two things, which is mutable and immutable data structure. Very important to understand. Also, it's a very important interview question. Okay, what is mutable data structure? What is immutable data structure? Whereas immutable data structure, again it is divided into three types, which is nothing but int, string, and tuple. See, here we are not bothered about the data type, what is there behind it. As other programming languages, Python also has a data type like int, string, float, tuple, boolean, and all those things. But as we know in the previous session, we are not worried about data types in Python. We are worried about the data structure. So we have two types of data structures in Python, which is mutable data structure and immutable data structure. What is immutable data structure? What is mutable data structure? When I say immutable data structure, it means to say that the memory once defined, that is, we have assigned the variable once, we can't change it. What do you mean by we can't change it? Example, let me take like a is equal to 5. Now when I say a is equal to 5, this a will be 5 always. If I change the next line like a is equal to 6, the memory allocation given for a is equal to 5 is different and this is different. Mean to say that once something is assigned cannot be changed, it has to be recreated or it has to be redefined. That is called as immutable data. In immutable data, there are three types, which is int, string and tuple. We'll come to practicals about this later, but as of now you must understand immutable data structure is int, string and tuple. Why it is called as immutable data structure? Very simple answer. Once defined, we cannot change it. It is defined, then we need to recreate it, but we cannot change it. That is about immutable data. Then what is mutable data? In mutable data, again it is of two types, which is called as list and the other one is dictionary. List and dictionary. List represented by square bracket, dictionary represented by flower bracket. Both this list and dictionary are the kind of data structure which is called as mutable. When I say mutable, mean to say the data can be changed. The data can be changed mean to say what? Assume that first I have like a is equal to something like 1, 2 and 3. Now next time if I want to add 4, I can just do a dot append of 4. So what happens in this case? The 4 get appended to a. So the a is not recreated, rather the data is being changed in a. This concept is again called as mutable data structure. How it works in practicals, we will see in the practical session. As of now you understand that mutable data is of two types, which is list and dictionary. Immutable data are of three types, int, string and tuple. On the whole, you must understand the data structures is divided into two types, mutable data structure and immutable data structure. Let's jump to the practical session of data, data types, variables and data structures in Python. Assuming that everyone have installed with Anaconda framework, we will be starting with the practicals. If anyone has a concern of how to open Anaconda framework, you can visit our previous videos. Just for a revision, you can just go to your Windows and you can just type as Anaconda. If you go as Anaconda, you'll be getting an option called as Anaconda Navigator. Once when you see Anaconda Navigator, if you can open that, there appears an option known as Jupyter Notebook. You can launch the Jupyter Notebook or else directly you can type here as Jupyter Notebook. You can just type it as Jupyter Notebook, where you'll be getting an option called as Jupyter Notebook. If you can just click it, you'll be redirected to the page in your web browser which appears something like this. Where this is my actually a root folder. I have created a folder by name VTR2020, which means to say VTX 2020, and I just go inside and I have created a new folder by name online, where I am creating a new folder by name online. If you have a concerns how to create a folder, what you can do is you can go to the top and have an option here known as new and create new folder. Once when you create new folder, at the bottom a new folder will be getting created. You can just see the new folder has got created at the end. Now you can click it, you can click here and you can rename it at the top, where you can go to the top and rename it, and you can say something like sample. The folder name got created and you can go inside the folder and you can start creating a new file. I have created a folder by name VTX online. I will go inside and I'll be creating a new file. How to creating a new file? How to creating a new Jupyter notebook? We call it as a Jupyter notebook. The extension of Jupyter notebook will be always .ipynb. Whenever you create a Python file with respect to your Spider IDE or with respect to PyCharm IDE, then the extension would be always .py, but working with the Jupyter notebook, the extension will always be .ipynb. While downloading it, you have an option to convert to .py also. Don't worry about it. Now what I do is, I'll be getting an option called new. I go to new and say new Python 3. A new Python 3 notebook would be created. You can just see a new notebook is getting created. Here you can actually start typing your code. You can rename it, you can go here, you can click Untitled, you can give whatever the name you want for your reference. Next time if you want to open, you can just open the Jupyter notebook, you can go to the particular folder, you can go to the particular file and you can start running accordingly. Okay, this is all about the how to open the Jupyter notebook and how to open the new folder and how to open the new file and how to rename it accordingly. Let's start the practical session of data, data types, variable and the print function. In our theory session we understood if something has to be printed onto the monitor using Python, the command is print, where print is a function. Why we call it as function, we will see that later. As of now you understand, print, open the bracket, inside the double quotes whatever you write that would be printed as it is onto the monitor. I have written something like print hello world. Now when I run this, you'll be getting print hello world. We have a shortcut in Jupyter Notebook. You can see the Jupyter Notebook documentation to understand was a shortcut to do for run, was a shortcut to add a new cell, shortcut to delete a cell accordingly. Now for a practice, I'll just show you how to add a new cell using this plus mark. If you can just do the plus mark here, the new cell would be inserted. Okay, then you can start typing the code here. And Jupyter Notebook is basically a cell oriented programming where each and every cell can be learned accordingly. Okay, so now I just write on a code as print hello world and I did run. The hello world has been printed onto the monitor. As simple as that. Here you didn't see any public static void main. Here we didn't see any class. Nothing. It's a simple print followed by whatever has to be printed. It's very easy, right? Yes, as we discussed, Python is actually very easy to code than other programming languages. But we have to be conscious with what? Indentation. We'll come to that part later. Okay. Now we understood with the variable. Okay, I am assigning a variable here, a is equal to 1 and I am making b is equal to apple and I am saying print a and print b. You already understood what is variable. Okay, so I am taking this data 1, putting in a, I am taking this apple and I am assigning it to b, then I am printing a and printing b. Just run. Got printed. Now I need to understand the data type of a and b. We have a function called as type function. I will repeat, to know the data type of the variable or to know the data structure of the variable, we have a function called as type function. I do something like print type of a, print type of b. If I run this, you understand it says it is int and string. Because what is int and string, you can see here a is a number which is 1, b is apple which is a word. So it says a is a number which is an integer, b is an apple which is a string. People who are very fresh to programming, you must understand group of characters combined together we call it as string. What is group of characters? When I have only a equal to a, something like this, when I have a is equal to a, this is a single character. But when I say a is equal to a p p l e, it becomes a string. That is group of characters combined together we call it as a string. Okay, so we understood is int, string and tuple are the three immutable data structures. So we got here int, we got here about the string. If you want to understand what is tuple, I'll just add a cell here and I say as something like t is equal to normal bracket open, then I say 1 comma 2 comma 3, that is combining three different data all together with a normal basis will form you the tuple. The use cases of tuple are comparably less than compared to other data structure. So we are not spending time much on tuple. Okay, but if you want to understand what is the data type of this tuple, I can just do print type of t. I'll just do print type of t. You can understand that t would be printed onto the monitor which says t is a tuple. Tuple, that is combination of different numbers with a normal bracket, is called as tuple. So we understood what is the data, how to assign the variable. Okay, we assign the variable which is, we assign the data which is 1 to a, apple to b and we print it onto the monitor. Let's jump to the data structures. The data structure in Python, okay, is divided into two types, which is mutable data and immutable data. Mutable, there are two, which is list and dictionary. Immutable, there are three, int, string, tuple. Okay, what is immutable data? We understood in our theory sessions, a is equal to 2, print value of a is a, print address of a is a. That is, to print something onto the monitor, I know we have to use the print function. I've used print function, open the bracket and told value of a is, and I'm closing the double bracket, I'm closing the quotes and I put a comma and say a. That is, when I put a comma and write something outside the double quotes, that would be printed with the variable. That is, when I say print value of A is, here it is there in double quotes. Okay, then A, which is there outside the double quotes, after a comma, mean to say the compiler will look for the variable by name A. Oh, A is present here. That A, the value of A, what is that? 2. That would be replaced in this position. Okay, so I have to say value of A is comma A. Now if you want to continue something after this A, then put a comma and type whatever you want. But again, if you want to store some variable, then put a comma and outside the double bracket, outside the double quotes, put the variable name. Okay, this is what we need to understand. Here I have told value of A is close double quotes and I say comma A. Then we will be seeing one more function which is called as ID function. Here we say print address of A is, then I say ID of A, which says the address of A is some particular location. I'll just run this code. Once again, you understand the value of A is A. That is, value of A is 2. Address of A is this particular address. It says the memory location where A is stored is in this particular location. Don't worry what's the use number, whether it is a registry memory or what exact is RAM memory. Let's not worry about all those things. Let's understand it's some particular memory address. Okay. Now I'll take the same A once again. Here the value of A is 2 and I made the value of A is 5. Now what I'll do is I'll be printing the value of A is A once again. And I say address of A is ID of A. So what is ID of A? ID is the function which gives the memory location of the variable. So I say ID of A, then I'll run this once again. Here you can understand the value of A is 5, which was 2, got changed to 5. Address of A is 140733488. Mean to say address of A here is different. Address of A here is different. We can observe as the value changes, the address also change. That is, we cannot change the value in immutable data. Very clear to understand once again. In immutable data, once we have assigned some value, we cannot change it. If we want to change it, understand it is recreated or reinitiated. As simple as that. So this is about the integer data, right? How about the string data? We can see that also. I have given something called as S is equal to apple. As in S is equal to apple, I can say something like value of S is S, address of S is ID of S. I'll just run this. You can see here value of S is apple, address of S is some particular address. Good. Okay. Now what I do is I'll be creating one more S is equal to mango, that is, which was apple previously. I'm changing S is equal to mango. Now the address must also get changed, right? Yes, you can see here the address here is 8864. It is 7648 at the last. You must understand the address has got changed as the data changed. So you must get to know the string is also immutable data. We can observe as a value changes, the address is also getting changed. So string is also immutable data. Int is also immutable data. Tuple, for that matter, once defined, we cannot change at all. We can't add the further values. So tuple is also an immutable data. Now comes the question, what is mutable data? Mutable data is of two types, which is list and dictionary. Correct. So what is list and what is dictionary? When I say L1 is equal to and open the square bracket, it is nothing but a list. So what is list? A data structure which consists series of elements enclosed in square bracket. It is called as list. And list is heterogeneous. That is, you can see here I am adding 1, 2 and 3, which is integer, and an apple, which is a string. I am combining integer and string together, so we call list as an heterogeneous data. Okay, now I am printing L1. I do type of L1, ID of L1. Let us run this. We can see 1, 2, 3 apple. The class is list and the address is so and so. Okay. Now what I do is, you must ask me, you must be getting a question. Okay. Previously you told that immutable data is something where we can't change the value. So you told list is a mutable data. We can change the value. Correct. How will you change the value? I told you we have an append function. Correct. So what we do now is, I'll do L1 dot append of 6. I'll do L1 now append of 6, then I'll print L1. I'll print the type of L1, ID of L1 also. Let us see what will be the output. Okay. In this case, you can observe the 6 where I'm appending got appended at the end, and the class is list. Okay, the address is the same as the previous L1. Even though I change the data, the address has not got changed. This concept is called as mutable data structure. That is, even though you are changing the value, the address is not getting changed. Only the data is getting changed. It is about the mutable data structure. Example is list. How to create a list? Using the square brackets. Now you must be getting a question here. Okay, here I am using something like an append. We don't know that function, no? What to do? Don't worry. Nothing is there to by heart. What we do is, I do something like dir of square bracket. You can see there's a function called as dir. In the dir function, I'm opening the bracket. Since I told it's a function, from now on, wherever we see the bracket open and the bracket closed, we call it as function. In the dir is a function and I'm passing the square bracket here. What is square bracket? Yes, it is a list. So I said dir of square bracket. You must understand that dir is like a telephone directory. It will give you what all the functions which is present for me given by Python library. That is, I say dir of square bracket. It says these are the functions present for you: append, clear, copy, count, extend, index, insert, pop, remove, reverse, sort. These are the different functions Python library is giving by default whenever a list is being created. This is what we need to understand. So what is the function to know what are the different functions present inside the list? Dir, inside that you must pass the list. Don't write it as list. If you just do square bracket, the compiler automatically understands it's a list and it will give you the directory listing accordingly. So I used something called as append function here to append something at the end. But you must be getting one more function here. Okay, you already know what append will do, but we don't know what append will do, no? What to do then? Yes, we got to know because you told directory listing, your function by name append, clear, copy, count. Yes, we got to know now there's a function. But how that will work? How that will work is, again we have something called as help. Okay, we say help of square bracket dot insert. Square bracket is a list. I am asking the help from the compiler. I am saying please help me the lists insert function. I say help of square bracket dot insert. When I do this, you must understand automatically it says it is a built-in function. It says it is a built-in function. It inserts object before index. It says it will insert some particular object at the index. So don't worry what all the different functions will do. That will be a part of assignment for you, where you need to practice what are the different functions present inside the list and what all the functions will do and how to work on it accordingly. Okay, so nothing is there to by heart. Everything has been documented. Now we understood we have a dir function which will give the directory listing. We have help function which will help us to know what that function will do. And each and everything is nothing to know all of once, because I will get the use cases accordingly once when we start programming and we'll be learning it. So don't worry about this. Okay, so now we got to know something about the list. So what is dictionary? Dictionary is again a mutable data structure. We know about this, right? But dictionary is a key value pair. We call dictionary data structure as a key value pair. What is key value pair? Key mean to say index, value mean to say what is the actual value present inside it. I am creating a dictionary by name dict1, which is equal to, I am opening the flower bracket, then I say name, I say is2, then I say Ram, comma Sham. That is, for the name index, I am creating a list by name Ram and Sham. I am putting a comma, then I say age 23, 24. You must understand here very carefully, whenever I combine multiple elements, I will repeat, whenever we combine multiple elements, you have to use list. What is list? A square bracket. I am combining Ram and Sham, so I am using the square bracket. So the name is being the key. Okay, the name is Ram and Sham. I'll put a comma, then I say age is 23, 24. This is how we create a dictionary. Dictionary is a key value pair where we'll be creating a key inside the single quotes and we'll be creating a value inside the single quotes accordingly. But you must observe here 23, 24 are given as an character, so it is taken as character. You want it as a number, don't give it as a character, just give as a number. Whenever I enter something inside the single quote, that would be considered as a string or a character. So I have created this RAM because RAM is a string, RAM is a word, it is group of characters. So I have given inside the single quote, but 23 and 24 is a number, no need of quotes for it. Now I'll just run this. You'll understand. Here it would be printed something on the monitor. It says name Ram Sham, age 23, 24. You must observe that multiple elements are combined together using list. I told you I am combining multiple elements using list. I created a dictionary. One more important catch point here is, to create a dictionary you must use flower bracket. Dictionary is used to create key value pair. To create combine multiple elements we need to use a list. Okay, so now I want to know what are the functions which is present inside the dictionary. What is the function for that? Good, dir, which is dir of normal bracket followed by the flower bracket, because dictionary is represented by the flower bracket, list is represented by, yes, square bracket. Okay, so what are the functions present inside dictionary? It is clear, copy, from keys, get, item, keys, pop item. These are the different functions. Again, what all this function will do? Very simple. You can do help of flower bracket dot clear. Then you will be getting to know what clear function will do. Help of flower bracket dot items. You get to know what items will do. These are all the functions. What is function? As I told you, we need to wait. But this is all the function which is present, where we can use it to do some action accordingly. Okay. Now I'll just use dict keys and the values. I'm using print dict1. Dict1 is now a dictionary. You can see here I've created a dictionary by name dict1. Okay, dict1 is a dictionary now. Now I'll do as dict1 dot keys, dict1 dot values, and I run this. If I run, you get the keys are the name and the age. The values are Ram, Sham, 23 and 24. Assignment will be given on all functions of dictionary. Yes. So you'll be getting an assignment where you can start practicing what are the different functions, what these functions will do, because even though we explain it, again it needs a practice from your side. Okay, we need to understand what it will do, but don't worry, no need to by heart. We can use it as and when the requirement comes while programming. But you must understand there is a help function which is there to help us, dir function which gives you the directory listing. Good. So this is what we wanted to cover. Okay, in this session we covered something with respect to Jupyter Notebook, practicals, creating the folder, creating the file, print functions, variables, data, data type, data structure.